Welcome back, everyone, to Pickers Market, episode 74. Just flying right along.
Sure.
We got we got most of the crew in here. We got Kyle here, Tyler here, but we do have a not a rookie anymore, but we have
Put him in that rookie
We still
camp.
call him.
Whoa.
we have
Sophomore season.
Yeah, there we go.
Rookie contract.
We have David here. He's got big shoes to fill. With Lisa's gone. Lisa's
That's
out
true.
on vacation, I believe, in Florida, kind of enjoying herself, which is a good thing to be. So,
Yep.
Welcome, David. So I hope a lot of contribution out of you today. So we'll see, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Before we start, last week was a big week for great investments. We had our EAF big conference, which is our lead advisor forum, which was fantastic. We invite a little over 100 of our top producers. I think we had 105, maybe. It was jam-packed. It was probably our best lineup ever. It's not a gradient commercial, which is a little bit different. We have a lot of different universities and teach-ins, but this is more we bring out industry experts, whether they're from Goldman, JP Morgan, BlackRock. We have motivational speakers. So well attended. I've heard nothing but great feedback. It kind of went without a hitch. Last year we had one or two of our speakers not quite show up exactly when we thought they were, and it made things a little nerve-wracking, but I think it was a job well done by Travel and Events and certainly by the great investment team as well. So any highlights, Tyler? I'll start with you.
I got to interview Sherman, Jeffrey Sherman,
Who's the
Deputy Chief Investment Officer at Double Line Capital. Jeffrey Gunlock, Bond King, he's under him. So that was fun. I enjoyed that.
That was a kickoff. He did a great job too as well.
Outside of that, I think, I'm a big Brian Belsky fan. Just his antics on stage. He kind of mixes markets plus a show.
That's the nice thing about him. That's why I think advisors really appreciate him.
So it's not so dry.
The entertainment side of things.
So yeah, I enjoyed those.
David, how about you? You've been to a couple of them.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. Obviously everybody likes Belsky. I thought Gene Munster was a lot of fun. The way he brought up Deepwater guy, tech guy. I thought it was fun how he brought multiple people on stage and made it a little bit more engaging and dug into a little bit more like technicals and numbers with a slideshow and everything. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Good. Kyle, it's your first one. I think you've done some of these other kind of similar kind of formats with your other firms you've been at. What do you think of the event, and then kind of do you have any highlights of any of the presenters?
Yeah, I thought the lineup was all-star. I mean, it was really, really good. I think my favorite part of it was the dinners, specifically to chit chat with people in the happy hour afterwards, because I didn't really know a lot of the folks that were coming. So being able to put faces to names and shake hands and be able to get to know them a little bit more was fun.
Yeah, no, that was great. I figured that was kind of going to be a little bit of your coming out party with this, getting in front of a lot of advisors. Again, these are our top 100 advisors, more or less. So it's good to get in front of them, meet them on a personal relationship, which that's the time you get in the evenings and
drinks start flying,
and it gets to be late night. So I'm proud of everybody that did. It was a great job. I think the event was good. The time everybody put in was a lot.
Yeah.
So then come Friday night, everybody's going to need to go home and decompress. So my favorite part, I think, Belsky was good. The motivational speaker was good. I really Liz Ann Saunders, and I think Lisa did a great job with interviewing her. I think that was, a nice end to pretty much Friday. I think that was a fantastic job by both, obviously, Liz Ann and Lisa. So job well done. I've heard nothing but good feedbacks. I heard a couple guys there, some of the speakers are a little bit dry, but for the most part, that was few and far.
And that's one of those things too, like putting together that list, like it gets hard finding the right content and finding the right speakers. I mean, you can't.
Not everybody can be an entertainer, right? We can't have 12, 13 speakers of just
and it depends on
juggling.
the content too, right? Like some of that content can be hard to get across as like energetic and super interesting. I mean, like there was a few where I was like, this probably doesn't resonate as well with some of the advisors, but you have to have some of that content up there. Otherwise it just kind of gets looked over.
I did hear from a couple of advisors that, they really liked the lineup, but one of the things, kind of to Kyle's point, they actually really liked hanging out with the great investment team, just to kind of pick not even just the management team, but even the back office and kind of, the consultants as well, to get to know them a little bit better, which I think helps build a relationship. So all in all, a great event. So let's get started here. We're going to start with 2 truths and a lie. We're going to focus on interest rates and the housing market. It's a little bit of the handyman show, I think. So we'll get to some of that stuff here in a second. But let's start with the housing market. 2 truths and a lie. All right. A, the housing market is important to the overall economy, not only because it provides shelter, but because housing-related services contribute to 15 to 18% of the GDP. That's a big number.
That is big.
B, D.R. Horton generates the most revenue of all the public home builders. C, Home Depot is nearly 3 times the market cap of Lowe's. Start with Kyle, because he's supposedly our resident kind of housing guy, contrarian, deep value, interest rate play. So this should be right up his alley.
Yeah. I could see A being true. It seems maybe a little low, though, I suppose, if you include housing related services. I mean, what does that even mean?
It's all kinds of stuff. All the stuff, construction, all the stuff, you
I feel like it would be
shopping,
higher.
because
It's like 35% of CPI.
Yeah.
But GDP, I think that's probably.
well, you guys got to figure it out when your guesses here.
So I feel like that could be true. D.R. Horton, it's pretty big. I mean, you got the Pulte's, the Lennars, D.R. Hortons. If I had to take a guess at which one had the most revenue, it's in there. I don't know if it's the most.
Wow.
Home Depot.
Kyle's a little stumped in the first two that he's going through.
Home Depot, nearly 3 times the market cap of Lowe's. That seems wild. I'm going to just say, I think that one's the lie.
All right. David?
I think.
I hope you didn't cheat. No, I sent you the stuff last night, so that's one of the rules of this
David
place.
He's a chronic cheater.
Yeah.
We should have had him go first.
Yeah, we calling him out right before it even starts.
Seriously.
Doesn't like to lose.
I think out of all these 3, I'd expect D.R. Horton to generate the most revenue, and I think that one would be the one where you try to stump us on. So I'm going to say B is the lie.
But wait, did you just say D.R. Horton does generate the most revenue?
No, I'm saying I think that one would be the easiest to trick us on. I think that D.R. Horton, you'd expect them to generate the most revenue. So because that one seems the most plausible,
little trick
I'm
question.
going to say B is the
lie. I think I really don't know the market caps of Home Depot and Lowe's. Probably should, but I would say that's probably true because Home Depot is kind of that home improvement giant versus Lowe's. So I'm gonna go with D.R. Horton. I bet like Lennar is probably the largest revenue generator out of the group.
So B is false?
Yes.
Well, we got 2 winners and 1 not so much.
Oh, no.
There we go.
I'm questioning David. I think David might have done homework on this one.
I didn't cheat.
It's 3 times the size.
Yeah, it's 420 versus 140.
Really? Wow.
Which surprised me.
That's really
because you
surprising.
see, I mean, obviously there's quite a few more Home Depots than Lowe's, at least here.
Yeah.
But you always kind of.
I wouldn't think 3 times
Yeah,
the
that's what I
market
mean.
cap, though.
That surprised me too.
It's not it's not like units of it. It's
no,
the market cap is.
Yeah, right.
That's a big difference.
It's a huge difference. So I thought that's surprised me. The 15 to 18% of GDP depends on how you measure it. Most of the people come in that same consensus: 16 to 18, 15 to 18. It's all the stuff. It's the mortgage lending, it's servicing, it's the all the retail tied to it. It's the construction itself. It's the building, the permitting, and stuff like that. So it's a huge component of the overall GDP. So it'd be nice if we'll get in discussion here of interest rates coming down. What does that mean for the overall economy? And can that spur that part of the economy that's kind of been kind of flat? And then D.R. Horton is the largest market cap by pretty large amount. And then, but Lennar, Tyler was right, actually slightly. I mean, it's like
more revenue.
30. Yeah, exactly.
Like 35 million a year.
35 versus 34 or something like that. So that was
wow.
What is the actual revenue?
35.4 and 34.7 or something like that. So I mean. Again, those are
billion, right?
Billion,
Yeah.
yes, not millions,
Yeah.
billions, right?
Yeah.
Just think of a house, how much it costs, right?
Right. No, I know that. I just want to get that.
But I mean, that market cap, I forget it was like 20 or 30, billion more in market cap, which surprised me. Again, depends on your float and all the other dynamics as well. But anyway, I think that was a good trick question. We at least got one person to trip over the skis. All right, let's jump into. Last week was a big week. We touched on it a little bit before the Fed cut, and our consensus here, along with 99% of the world, was the Fed would cut 25 basis points, kind of have, I would say, gone from that hawkish stance to dovish to, I think, even a little more dovish right now. And then So we got the 25 basis point cut. There's a probability, I think it's 90% probability of another cut next meeting, which is in October. But I want to stick with the housing market and kind of interest rates and mortgage. So it's kind of the theme of today's topic is, 15 to 18% of our GDP is tied to it. It's very important. But just because the Fed cuts, 25 basis points, we've cut 100 basis points over the last year. Kyle is generous enough to donate some of his content from last week that we didn't cover. So we'll delve into that as well here. So 100 basis points the Fed's cut over the last year, but mortgage rates are actually slightly up. Now, I've heard, Tyler, you've kind of explained this well in the past to some of the people that, talking bonds, and we just had a discussion with other people as well. Do you want to kind of describe what's going on and kind of the mechanics behind it?
Yeah, and it always, so we had, who was up there talking about, I think it was Lizanne was talking about, she was talking to a mortgage broker and they didn't understand how the 30-year mortgage.
Yeah, which is
I thought that was great.
It's amazing to me.
You're in that industry.
It's broad based. Like when we were buying our house a couple years ago, the amount of people that said, "Oh, the Fed's going to cut, so your interest rate will go down." I'm like, that's not how it works. So the way it works is the 30-year mortgage is based on the 10-year Treasury interest rate, and there's a spread because obviously a bank is trying to, A, there's risk that you don't pay it, and B, they want to make some money on it. So there's traditionally a spread of 1.5% for a 30-year mortgage over the 10-year Treasury interest rate. Right now it's sitting at about 2.25, so it's a little bit wider. We can get into why if you want. But so the reason it actually went up when the Fed was cutting interest rates is we've been in this not normal yield curve for quite some time, right? So,
well, what's a normal? Quickly on what's a normal?
So a normal yield curve is basically your short end rates are lower than your long end.
Yeah, right. The longer you go out, the more risk is. So you have to, have a higher yield, right?
So usually in a normalized environment, there's about 120 basis points, 1.2% spread between the federal funds rate, the rate that the Fed is working with, and the 10-year Treasury. So if you expect the Federal Reserve to end at 3%, you should expect a 10-year Treasury in a normalized environment, no other noise, to be at 4.2%. So that is why, like when the Fed was cutting last year, the 10-year actually went up, because if we're trying to get to this normalized environment, then you have to have a normalized yield curve, which means if you expect the terminal rate for the Fed funds to be 3, you need the 10-year Treasury at 4.2, which means you're in a normalized environment, your 30-year mortgage should be at, call it 5.7 to 6-ish, right? And then right now that spread is a little bit wider just because of certain dynamics. We can get into that if you want.
We'll cover it, I'm sure.
So that's why you saw 30-year mortgages actually go up, because 10-year Treasury went up despite the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates.
Nice. Kyle, you got anything to add on that?
Well said.
Well said. All right. Okay. This leads into the conversation of, mortgages are important. It's not only is it just, 15 to 18% of the overall GDP, it's people's shelter, right? So you have decision when you go on your own. We got some young people in this room, not me so much, but as you leave, you can graduate college or move out of your parents' basement,
or get off your parents' cell phone plan.
Cell phone plan,
or
that's another whole discussion.
Come on now,
Tyler is in his 30s. So
you were agreeing with me earlier. It's way freaking cheaper.
It's true.
More lines on a plan, the bigger the discount.
We're gonna we'll have to have a segment on that next week, I think, to cover up, Tyler's kind of benefits he's still getting. Anyways, so your decision is either rent or own, right? And with owning, with the median house price has been skyrocketing for the last several years. With interest rates go up, the affordability index is down. It's tough to buy a house. Obviously, David, I think you just made that leap in the last year, correct?
Yep. Yep.
So if you're doing that, you're generally speaking, you're taking out a 15 or 30-year loan. Most people are taking out a 30-year loan. I think the loan rate right now is like 6.25 or 6.5%.
Yeah, they've come down.
They've come down. They hit, if you go back, I think earlier this year, late, I think it was actually in fall, was about 7.9%, which that gets to be pretty unaffordable. So point being is there's not a whole lot of activity. And if you're in a house, you probably have a lower mortgage rate. I think the stats are outstanding average is about 4.1%, which again, that's not too bad, right? And then if
Mhm.
the current rate is at 6.5. If you're selling your current house, you're automatically jumping up by about 2.5%. And with prices up, that kind of makes it a difficult situation.
Well, that interest rate makes even a 1% makes a big
Huge
difference
difference.
on a
Yeah, we'll get
monthly
Yeah.
payment.
Yeah, I got an
Yep.
example here. So that being said, there's a lot of what Kyle refers to as golden handcuffs. Kyle, you want to get into kind of what that means and how you think that plays out and where the Fed's going and this whole interest rate discussion of the 30-year mortgage?
Yeah. So, when you think about where we're at and the mortgage rate dynamics, Tyler did a great job walking through what has happened and why rates haven't come down despite the the decoupled view of mortgage rates and the Fed, not a thing, directly at least for sure. So, if you've got everybody at 4.1%, the lion's share of them, people are really in these golden handcuffs there with their current low rates. They don't want to move, and it makes sense because you're talking thousands of dollars. So you've got all this inventory that's potentially sitting there, and people with this ultra low rate. I know just anecdotally several people with a 2 handle on their mortgage rate. So why would you ever move? It's basically free money. So the market's projecting these cuts, and people are just hungry for it. You've seen it with the refis. Just a little tick up last fall. People are hungry. People are looking to move. There's not enough building going on, and it really is due to permitting. It's due to land availability, all these different kind of dynamics. But in general, people are pretty much locked in place. So I think you need to see a meaningful, well, maybe not even meaningful, a small, a marginal move in that 10-year down.
Yep.
I think we'll start seeing a cascade effect of people starting to finally break loose. But it needs to come down to that kind of 4 handle. I don't know what drives that or what the cadence would be. Maybe Tyler has a view on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, the last several years, it's been around 7 now. David, you want to talk about your experience a little bit and kind of your decision? So you're a little different, right? You don't qualify for the golden handcuffs because you didn't have a place. You just graduated from
I've got
college and then kind of talk about your interest rate experience and kind of shopping around and what made you finally to pull the trigger.
Yeah, so for me, my interest rate was around 6.625, so it's pretty high in there, and I obviously have renters and a lot of people helping me out there, so I have a very unique kind of one-off situation, which was really, really nice. So not a lot of people, I think, can relate to that. I think it was funny. I don't think there's a single person I worked with who didn't mention the federal funds rate, and one of them I sat down, he was talking up, he had 13 different charts of interest rates and all that, and I asked him about the spread between the 10 and the 30 and where it was at. And his tone like immediately changed. He was like,
I don't care.
Yeah, he's like,
I don't know.
He's like, okay, I'm gonna quit talking about this. So, but no, I think like what Kyle said with the marginal drop in interest rates is all we'll really need to see. I think that a lot of people probably want to move and are sick of sitting in their homes. And if the average interest rate is at 4.1 and we're sitting at 6.5 right now, I don't think we would need to see interest rates come down all the way to 4.1. I think if they came down to 5 or something, that'd be enough to see a lot of people move, because at some point lifestyle means a little bit more to most people than just eking out those dollars and cents in their monthly payment. But what I'd be curious to see is how people react to if there's a marginal move down in interest rates, how that'll affect home prices, and if that will be enough to move the needle, right? Because if interest rates come down, the majority of people, I think, care a lot more about their monthly payment than they do about what the home costs.
100%.
And so,
yep.
Marginal tick lower in interest rates will most likely boost housing prices and keep affordability essentially the same for the same level of house, or the exact same house. And so it'll be interesting to see how people react to that. If they'll just be willing to see, okay, mortgage rates are lower, I'm moving, or if they'll see, okay, this house, was 350 last year, it's 400 this year, but the monthly payment is the exact same. I'm moving because interest rates are now 4.9, and I'm okay getting out of my 4.1 and going into 4.9 to move across the country and go live in Florida.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's one thing that, I've been doing for a long time that surprised me with interest rates when they were going up, that the housing market didn't go at least flat. Doesn't necessarily have to go down, but it didn't.
Yeah.
The prices kept on going and going. You throw COVID in there, I think, which kind of skewed things as well, the demand. And now it's like, okay, well, I think you're right, Dave. I think if interest rates come down quickly or even come down slowly, I think you'll probably see a little upward pressure on the mortgages. Tyler, any thoughts
I
on
think
this?
the reason housing prices still went up despite interest rates going up is because the inventory just like as interest rates went up, your inventory just started to do this, and then it just you still have people that are competing for those houses regardless of the interest rate because people are still looking to move. David is a prime example. But it's interesting because we have some friends that they with where interest rates have gone. So they have I think they're probably at a 2 handle on their mortgage. I don't know exactly, but you take current interest rates and their current house price, they might not be able to buy the house that they're in.
Yeah, it's funny how it works, right? Just the matter.
Just difference based on the math of interest rates and where prices have gone. What I think, I was talking about this with a couple of advisors at Elite Advisor Forum. I think worst case scenario for the housing market is you have what Miran wants and you start doing 50 basis point cuts and you get to 2.8% by middle of next year. I think that is going to destroy the housing market to the point like we saw back in 21 and 22 with prices skyrocketing, going up 21% year over year for a year and a half. So because you have so much demand still built up, plus you have all of the people that are stuck in the 2.7, 3, 3.5. That if you can even get an interest rate close to 4, like a 4 handle, that's where I think the tipping point for those folks are, regardless of, because there's plenty of people that are stuck in houses that they are probably way too big of a family to be in that house.
They were the starter house from a decade ago.
And so now I think 4 is probably going to be that tipping point. Whereas if we do this slow interest rate cuts and you start to slowly get that spread, I don't think the 10-year treasury is going to come down very much. But you can
it hasn't really come down since last week, right? It's actually ticked up.
You can compress the spread between the 30-year mortgage and the 10-year treasury to at least get you to like that 670 or what am I talking about? 575-ish range. You slowly get those people to say, okay, we have enough money built up. We're way too small in this house. Now we can actually have some type of payment that fits our monthly budget to get into that house. Whereas when you're over 6, like it's a big pill to swallow when you're looking at a 3% versus a 6.5.
That's kind of the.
So I think that will save the housing market from seeing prices skyrocket if we can slowly tick that spread lower and slowly get people over the hump of, okay, I'm comfortable with a 5.5 or 5.75 because that's a more normal interest rate anyways for a 30-year mortgage, not 3, right? So
it depends on when you come in. I always talk about,
and people have recency bias. So if you think, they're down from 7 and we're at 5.5, I better jump on this and make that plunge.
Just like when 3.5 went to 5.5, you're like, oh, this is a disaster.
I got to hold off on this. But people waiting for 3, I think people understand that 3 is not realistic anymore. But I think 5, somewhere in the 5 range, at least gets people to start thinking about it and unfreeze the housing market.
Yeah, and then I think the biggest point is kind of the monthly number, what you can afford, right? So that's kind of what I think David touched on here a little bit. The example I have is I went and looked at the median house price in the U.S. is $410,000, which is certainly not cheap, right? And I think Minnesota it's $370,000. But say if your mortgage rate just not too long ago was at 7% on a 30-year, your monthly payment, and that doesn't include property tax, doesn't include insurance, which my wife just constantly was like, oh my God, this insurance is crazy.
I got a rush last year,
right?
Crazy.
It was just crazy. So
Tyler's on his parents still.
Yeah, good point. Maybe his parents are selling some Broadcom stock to cover Tyler's home insurance. So rates are at 7%. Your monthly payment is $2,300. I think that's the number people focus on. I can afford $1,500, $1,000, $2,000, $2,500. Okay, so at 7%, that's your number. Now the math, currently
that's just principal and interest. You said
that's just principal and interest. That doesn't include the rest of the stuff. That's why it's hard to do when people are talking rent versus owning, they always
yep.
seem to forget, which is, your home insurance is, I think it's like average around $1,500. Your basically property tax, that could be another $3,000 to $5,000. So you're adding,
Usually it's like 1% of your house.
yeah. So I'm gonna say 3 to 5 on that 4 some. So that's adding another $700 a month. Your payment, your payment's now probably
$3,000.
To $3,000. Yep. Or I'd say that's a good solid number. Now, if the current rate is at 6.25, your monthly payment instead of being at $2,300 is down to $2,000. So that's $300 extra a month, which you can pay for some of these miscellaneous, property taxes, insurance as well. Now, Tyler kind of touched on I think it's a pretty solid number of 5.5. It gets all the way down to 1862. So I think, just think about that.
That's a lot. If $6,000 more in your pocket every year,
$6,000 in your pocket. I think that's kind of it's amazing what that can do. So I just want to throw that out there. And
a couple mortgage payments
for sure, right? I mean, it's surprising how, and again, I think we've all discussed where we are in kind of mortgage rates and recent buys. I think that all plays into, I throw my example. I built my house in 2000. I have a chart on here which people can't see. Back then, interest rates were at 7%. Slowly over the next, decade, 2 decades, it went down. I think I refinanced like 3 times. Same thing. It's you do the math on it. It's like, okay, my monthly payment's this, refinance is down this. Only thing that's kind of funny though, when you keep on refinancing, right, your end gets pushed out.
Well, and they lump because I refied during COVID, and they lumped the 6A. I don't know why it costs $6,000 to refi it.
Closing costs, right? So that's just another hit.
But they wrap that into your loan too. So then you also have to
offset that, right? But then in my last one, I got a 2 handle on it, but I went to a 15-year. So it's, but again, so I think now all said and done, from when I started my house to when I think I'll probably still be closer to 30 years. But it's just like there's a lot of refinancing on the way, but the payments went lower constantly. That's kind of where I think that's kind of where people are going to be. So
yeah, I can't wait to refi.
I'm going to have that situation.
Yeah, right.
That's for sure. Yep.
It's good. And you got renters and some other things in play, but the magnitude of what an interest rate does. But what do you think is the housing prices happen with the interest rates come down? Do you agree with Tyler and Kyle on the?
I definitely think they'll go up. I don't necessarily think at a expeditious pace. Maybe. I mean, I'm just reading through some of the home builders' calls. It's like the rotation as rates climbed in 22, 23, 24. The rotation from like what they were building to spec housing has skyrocketed, and then the points that they give back on rebates as an incentive on new homes to lower the kind of the hurt of that interest rate for the buyer. That definitely, I think, dynamic will change. I think home builders will be more profitable on the margin going forward as rates go down, because they won't have to discount points so much to incentivize people to come in. But on the used market side, the existing homes, that dynamic is kind of wild, because I think for the first time ever, in the last quarter, existing home prices it's more expensive to buy an existing home than a new home for the first time ever.
Isn't that crazy that you get to those points?
So I think that dynamic will settle a little bit, but I think prices are upwards and to the right. I just don't know what the slope is.
And then for new builds, you've gone through quite a bit of these conference calls. What were the numbers down, like 30%? I mean, on a year-over-year basis, like
of the actual inventory getting built. Yeah, it's down a good healthy clip. I don't know the exact number, but it's at least a quarter.
Yeah, and I've heard 34. Depends on the builder, but it's like if they're down that much, to Tyler's point earlier, the inventory is less. So it's hard for prices to drop a whole
lot. A lot of it is that they have the land. They've been accumulating land left and right because they're not, making new land. That being said, it's the permitting and regulatory issue. Weather is also important. Like in the South and Texas, you had a bunch of like very wet, spring, so it was hard to get the builds going. But all those dynamics matter when it comes to pricing.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting. I mean, from an investment standpoint, I think it's an interesting space. Obviously, you own quite a bit in some of the different portfolios that you look at, but I think that's an area where we touched last week on kind of where things are going. I think that's interest rate sensitive things are certainly things that we need to be looking at. So, all right, let's wrap this up. We'll talk a little spaghetti wall, which we haven't done for a while. And since it's housing related, let's do a little handyman stories. I think we all have a few success stories or disasters. So Let's start with David. Since you're relatively new, did you have to do any remodeling with this existing place? You didn't buy new, did you?
That was the plan, to do a little remodeling, and that kind of never came to fruition. The nice thing is when you're rooming with 4 guys that are between
David's
the ages
recently
of
out of
24
college,
to 26,
so, yeah.
right? It's a pretty amiable group of guys. Everybody's pretty happy to be there and pretty happy to I have one roommate. We were gonna wall off. We were gonna make a whole new room. And then the way it worked out, the wall never got put up. At
so
least
what, a
yet.
bed sheet or something? What do you have? Like
So no,
curtain?
there's the living room. So this is the greatest setup. So the living room, the basement is like
Tag board.
nobody else is in the basement. So the basement has a washer and dryer and a bathroom, and then his room is the way it is.
Yeah.
So
Just
it's
one big
so
open
instead
room.
it's a big open living room. So he's got a television down there and all this stuff. And I've offered to switch with him because it's a pretty nice setup.
Mhm.
Isn't it your house?
Yeah. What do you offer?
I just be like,
yeah,
I have the-
dude.
Give me my room back.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in the quote unquote master. All
Alright.
the other rooms are the same size. And then probably the win was back in Montana. We were working on this one house. I have all these pictures. I wish we could show it up, but built a wraparound porch. Took me like 3 weeks, and it was one of the most incredible experiences. It was probably like a $4 or $5 million home.
Yeah.
Bozeman, Montana, facing, like, if anybody visits, there's a big M that you hike to. It's
Yep.
facing the M. It's got all the mountains. And that was like the most
Nice.
fun thing ever. Yeah.
Cool. Tyler?
Um,
Let's see, you're in a new house, but it seems like your new house, all I hear is remodeling.
my
I'm
new
not
house
sure
is
what's going on
not-
there.
Yeah. Way too many projects for a new house.
Parents are paying for it.
That's a cell phone. Let's get this straight.
We just finished our basement, and I did
Mhm.
most of it.
Looks good.
The only thing I didn't do was the drywall and mudding and taping, because
Yeah. Sorry.
that was the biggest fail, is when I put office doors in. We had to, because the opening was too big, so I had to frame out and put drywall, sheetrock, whatever. And the mudding and taping job looks terrible.
Mhm.
Like, and I don't think everybody notices, but you doing
do,
the job,
yeah.
and
Mhm.
I'm just like, it's not great. So I didn't want to hire. I had to hire that out, especially for an entire basement. So learned how to build my own deck. Yeah,
Nice. With the crooked steps.
they're not crooked.
You fixed them.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
no, they're too short. That's
Hey,
right. The bottom.
it's
They
all
pass
it's all a
permit.
learning process. YouTube
Right.
University can only get you so far.
That's true. Kyle, any good, bad, indifferent?
Yeah, last year redid a deck, elevated, it's like
Mhm.
15 feet in the air or whatever it is, but that turned out quite well. Happy about that. And then also did the powder room, the bathroom in the main area. So that was a little more complicated than I thought. I hired out my wife wanted like this wallpaper in there.
Oh,
Like,
dude.
so it says like accent
Mhm.
doodad, and I'm like, I'm not touching that. So
Good call.
it is funny because wallpaper is not, it's coming back in like
A lot. You see it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's not like it was in the 80s where
No.
it's like, but finding somebody who can actually hang wallpaper, incredibly difficult. Very, very hard to find somebody actually doing it.
It's because it's beyond frustrating.
Yeah.
It's almost like a lost art. Like
Yeah.
there's no talent, like there's no skilled labor that does that anymore, just because it fell off. So
Yeah. Speaking of that, I in college and high school, I did a lot of that home building stuff. And
I thought you were gonna say wallpaper. I could have hired you out.
no, I did wallpaper one. I wouldn't. I mean, it was with a really old guy, and he had the touch to do it, and I was just more his gopher or whatever. But just watching him do it, it's like, dang, it's not an easy thing to pick up. So I think you're right. I think it is a lost art. So I'll finish on mine. I built a deck a few years ago. It turned out great. It's same thing in the air, added on. You get a lot of compliments on that. And then now I'm doing the master bathroom remodel, which is, we'll see. It's coming into a bigger project. My wife's just shaking her head at it because it's supposed to be, she thought it was just a refresh, which again, we've been in our house for 25 years. There's no refresh. We're just moving stuff left and right. So it's a little bit of a gong show. Now my dilemma, I can do the plumbing, I can do electric. I'm doing it all myself. The one thing I didn't think I had to tear much sheetrock off in the bathroom. Now basically down to every stud. So everything's off. So now I am debating whether I need to hire that out. But most of the stuff might be behind tile or cabinets, so I could maybe get away with it. But I still am. Maybe we'll watch a little YouTubes and see what happens. But we'll stay tuned on that update.
Although I have figured out how to mud and tape after I watched them.
Yeah, I think that's the key.
That helped a lot.
Yeah, instead of just
trying
trying to do it on your own, what makes sense. There's some tricks to it. Anyway, I hope you all enjoy this episode, and we'll see you next week.